Hello everyone, welcome back to Reddo Reads. Today we have r/malicious compliance. If you want me to cover some specific subreddit in the next video, leave it in the comments. Malicious compliance with the law. This is a story from my first job as a paperboy at 13. Even at a young age, I was always a bit of a nightmare to manage. As soon as there was any show of any unfair treatment, I have always made it my mission to know all the regulations and work only within them. If an employer shows no flexibility to me, they sure as heck aren't getting any back from me. On to the story. It was a great first job. My round started just around the corner from my house, and a small loop left my last delivery 3 doors down from my home. There were usually no complaints about time. I used to show up just after 7, pack my bags, and all the papers were delivered by 7:45, even on the busiest days. We had a new manager start at the shop, and apparently there were some people complaining that their papers were not delivered early enough. We were told we had to be in the shop for 6:30 going forwards. In the UK, there are regulations on when a child is allowed to work. And given this new change and how it was a deterrent to my life, I started to research to see if anything could be done. I found out 2 things. Firstly, minors could not work before 7 a.m. And secondly, you could not deduct money from wages for mistakes, something that was happening regularly every time there was a customer complaint. And with this information, I told the manager that what he was proposing and his current way of running the deliveries was illegal, and he needed to come up with a better plan. I am not sure he liked being told this by a 13-year-old, so he fired me immediately. The newsagents in question was a national chain, so I wrote to their head office detailing the situation and what I intended to do next. I stated that they were not following child labor laws and I would report to the relevant agency. I pointed out it wasn't a great look that when this was brought to their attention, I was fired and nothing changed. I stated that I intended to raise a legal claim for unfair dismissal based on the nature of my dismissal. I also gave them notice of my intent to go to the press to see if they felt there was a story to a national brand ignoring child labor laws and dismissing someone who brought that to their attention. I asked for a response in 30 days, or I would start to make the appropriate arrangements. Well, it took 2 weeks before I was asked to come into a meeting with my ex-branch manager and his boss. I took my dad as a witness, but he encouraged me to lead the meeting. There was some backpedaling. They stated they had made changes. We were now expected in at 6:45 to do the sorting before going on our deliveries at 7 o'clock. They had given everyone a pay raise and a bonus which would be paid weekly if no mistakes were made. They offered me my job back. I refused. I told them while the pay situation seemed fair, they were still asking people to come in before 7 a.m. and this was against the law. I stated if they didn't want me to take this further, they needed us to be there at 7 a.m. and they could get our bags ready for delivery, or we could be there at 7 and be out for delivery at 7:15. The choice was theirs, but their interpretation of the law was wrong, and I wouldn't back down on my actions unless changes were made. They agreed to my points, and then, as a part of my job be reoffered, there was a confidentiality clause. I stated I was not comfortable with this, and if this was to buy my silence from approaching the press, there would be a cost attached to it. In the end, I got my job back. 20% raise for everyone working the same job, and a weekly bonus on top. A strict 7 a.m. start time, and to top it all off, £500 to sign the confidentiality clause. Moral of the story, make sure whoever you're trying to F over isn't a petty little poop who is willing to put more time and effort into ruining you than he is at school. Ooh, this story is very satisfying. I suppose OP could become a great lawyer with this kind of mindset. Also, the fact that they made 13-year-olds sign a confidentiality clause is super weird. I don't think 13-year-old can sign this kind of documents for them to be illegal. I think OP's father had to sign it as well. Well, maybe OP could come back to them for a bigger sum of money, otherwise he would still go to the newspapers. Ooh, that would be so cool. If he would go to press, they would make this big piece about unfair child employment, and then these children would deliver this paper. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Want me to take all my stuff and leave? No problem. This was a couple months ago, back in May. I had been living in an apartment with 3 other roommates, so 4 of us in total, for about 8 months. We are all women in our 20s. I barely interacted with my other roommates at all. Just between our jobs and classes, we never saw each other. We all had our own rooms as well. For some context, on May 5th, my fiancé and I were planning to move into a new apartment together. So by the evening of the 4th, I had just about all of my belongings packed up. More on that later. Though I barely interacted with my roommates, I felt like we coexisted well and we never fought or argued about anything, except for some very minor instances with Vicky and Kara. Those two were friends, and Vicky was definitely the messiest of 4 of us living there. She would leave her clothes in the dryer for days, pile dishes in the sink for more than a week before cleaning them, and often forget food in the fridge until it would rot. Maybe 5 times throughout my time living there, I would get a text in our group chat from Kara saying something like, "Hey OP, I talked to the others and they said the dishes in the sink aren't theirs, so please clean them." This was annoying, but it happened infrequently enough, so it wasn't awful, and I figured Vicky lied to Kara about messes since it was just easier to throw me under the bus rather than own up to it herself. On the evening of May 4th, so the night before I was planning to move out, Kara sent a very long and scathing text to our group chat. She went on and on about how she's tired of my messes, hates all my stuff strewn about the apartment, and also personally attacked me, calling me disgusting and inconsiderate. Since I was leaving literally the next day, I didn't see any reason to start a fight, so I just said it was her lucky day, and I was actually moving out the next morning. She replied, "Whatever you say, just take all your stuff and leave." Now, the malicious compliance. As I had mentioned earlier, I had packed most of my belongings already, but technically not everything. The 4 of us all moved into the apartment at about the same date, but I moved in a few days earlier than the others. This means that I had bought a lot of the communal items myself. I was planning to leave this out of kindness despite them being worth around $400. However, once I got that text from Kara, I decided I would in fact take all of my stuff and leave. These communal items included all trash cans in the whole apartment, around $100, the Wi-Fi router, $150, and a large metal shelving rack, probably the one that hurt the most, $150. The shelving rack was likely the most devastating loss for them, since they had tons of stuff. For reference, the kitchen had 10 cupboards and 8 drawers, of which I used 2 cupboards and 1 drawer to store my items. The cupboards I used were also the ones above the microwave and the fridge, since I am the tallest and I wanted to be considerate. All the rest of the cupboards, drawers, and the entire metal rack, which had 5 large shelves, were filled to the brim with my roommate's stuff. Essentially, there was absolutely no way they'd be able to fit in the amount of space I left behind without buying another rack or putting it on the counter and floor. I was careful to keep all their stuff from the rack organized and neat when I removed it, and everything from the rack completely covered the counters, kitchen table, and coffee table in the living room. I moved out peacefully with all my belongings the next day, and I have been happy in my new apartment with my fiancé. A few days after moving out, Vicky texted the group chat that, FYI, the Wi-Fi isn't working anymore. I wonder why. And at that point, I left the chat. I wondered how long it took Kara to realize that it actually was never me that was making messes in the apartment, but I guess I will never know. Oh, it's too bad that OP left the chat. I think it would be such a nice light reading. Ooh, and I can imagine the talk between Vicky and Kara, when Kara is like, OP moved out, but messes are still there. Kara, do you know who makes them? And Kara is like, You know what? I think OP comes back here at night and makes them. She breaks in, enters, and makes the mess. Not me. Can you do that someplace else? This will be a quick one, y'all. I'm a middle-aged cashier with hypoglycemia, among other hard-to-spell elements. Don't get me wrong, I'm no withering wife. We've all got problems. On this day, this problem became, well, a problem. Prickly nested in the Phoenix Desert lies your Arizona hometown grocer, Malicious. Since the pandemic, U-Scan has been all the rage, literally. Malicious insists that only one live, actual, scanning, thinking cashier is scheduled. That sexy beast is me. During 40 to 50% of my shift, I'm busy, non-stop scanning and bagging. Yes, we have no bananas and no baggers. To my heart's dismay. No problem, it's a job, cool beans. But when my second front-end guy, who runs the U-Scan, leaves to the back for the last half of the shift, I'm caught between ringing up plus jumping over to an assortment of angry eyes waiting for me to scan their overrides. These overrides happen frequently. Anytime liquor is purchased, cough syrup, etc. It's all me. Things get busy. I get thirsty. I drink water. I feel a spell coming on even after water, so I know I need sugar and fast. So I bust open a Coke and guzzle it like it's my job. I must have looked like a commercial for the product. The second I hit that second ounce, I hear a nasal, "You're fucking disgusting! Do you have to do that here? Go do that someplace else!" Then she sputtered into a curse-laden tirade that I swear involved the word donut someplace. She also called me fat. Not cool, Brahim. I stopped, explained that I desperately need sugar for my blood sugar, while simultaneously opting to deliver some good old-fashioned malicious compliance. You know what? You're right. I shouldn't be drinking soda right here. Let me go someplace else. So I did. I walked, sobered if you will, right to the manager's office as I leave behind a parade of customers whose anger now transmogrified into one super being, a la Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, shifting it toward the cursor. I told my manager I need to sit down. I haven't had a break in 6 hours and need to refuel stat. They're out there waiting. Dan sat while he went to deal with the leftovers. I took a seat in the deli area, slowly sipping my soda and watching my manager try to deal with what I've been dealing with my whole life. Imagine a diapered version of myself. The main complainer wound up leaving, grocery-less and even angrier, flipping off no one in particular. Huzzah! I missed a lot in the moment, but evidently many of the customers were regulars and stood up for me in the best way by collectively telling her where she can go and what she can do when she gets there. Yes! This story made my day. Also, I really like the style of this story. I wish OP could take up on writing or stand-up comedy. I would read that or go to that show. Won't let me work? Okay. A few years ago, at my place of employment, they decided to bring in a new safety glasses policy. As I was a member of the safety committee, I was tasked with finding a company who could supply safety glasses that would fit our employees, and with a new criteria. It had to pass a pencil fit test. By this, I mean a regular pencil should not be able to pass around any part of the glasses to enter the eye area. A tight fit, as it were. I called around and found a company that was able to come out and provide us with a choice of 120 different models and styles to choose from. This would allow us to fit everyone, from fat to thin faces, tall, slim faces, hawk-shaped, big-nosed, you name it. We would be able to get them fit. I thought that I was in the bag, piece of cake, or any other platitude you can think of. I almost dislocated my arm patting myself on the back. Well, of course, management has to step in and say, this doesn't work for us. Their solution? Find a company that has only 6 different styles of glasses and make it work. As I wear prescription lenses, these new style glasses were not designed for this. They only have inserts, which are clipped on inside. Well, to make the glasses pencil fit, the frames are curved to fit your face. Hence, the insert is bent to fit the frame. Now just imagine taking your glasses and bending them to sit tight to your face. See how this distorts your vision? Now cue malicious compliance. I reported to my boss that I could not wear the new glasses as they distorted my vision and gave me headaches. Their solution was to have me try each model of glasses one at a time and get lenses made for them to see if I could find one that would work. Knowing that no matter what they did, wearing curved frames would not work, every time I got new lenses made, I made sure that they were high index, UV resistant, tinted, scratch resistant, and the best money could buy. I bought lenses for all 6 frame types at a cost of just over $7,000. At the end of this, I went to see my eye specialist and he wrote me a letter stating that I am not able to wear the new style glasses as they would damage my eyes. I took this letter into work and showed it to my boss. They didn't know what to do with me. I showed up for work every day, dressed and ready to work, but they never assigned me any work as it would be too dangerous, even though I had worn my old safety glasses for the last 25 years. Suddenly, it's too dangerous. So they had me just sitting in the lunchroom. I would play games on the computer. I was going to night school, so I completed a semester of school and basically just screwed around. One day I was playing video games and our number 2 big boss walked in and saw me. I said good morning with a big smile and a wave. He didn't. A couple of days later, our number 1 boss walked in while I was reading the newspaper and he asked me what I was doing and I said, reading the paper? He said, why? I said, they told me it's too dangerous for me out there. The next day I was back at work. 10.5 weeks I was off and suddenly the policy was changed. I wonder if they let OP keep the glasses so he could sell them. Cause you know, 7K, good money. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. You can also watch this awesome video or that awesome playlist. See you next time!